G'day beautiful people, it's Stuart Stone here from healthandfitnessover40.com. Now, this is a follow-up video. This is a special webinar for you people who are interested in our Are You OK Day video, which had the link to this webinar in it. And the reason for this, as I've spoken about before, is even a couple of days after Are You OK Day was over, they disappeared into oblivion in the media. So this video is about, number one, creating and raising awareness for people struggling with mental health issues, specifically depression and suicide, which is what Are You OK Day is all about. And also, this webinar is focused upon helping you to empower not only yourself, but the people you love and care about who may be struggling with or challenged with a mental health issue, depression, and have been high risk for suicide. So, this webinar is titled How to Strengthen Your Emotional Health Naturally. This is not a substitute for professional care. If you are going through a mental health crisis, if you are going through a significant depressive episode, if you are suicidal, get some professional help first. Get some quality intervention, get through that crisis, and then look at building yourself up constitutionally. But what this webinar is about, well, what we do here at Health and Fitness Over 40 is we scour the research, and we've found from the research the top 5 strategies shown to promote a positive mental attitude, happiness and emotional well-being. So these are the steps that you can take to make yourself more resilient as your natural default setting. We've also had a look at the key vitamins, minerals and nutrients your body requires for emotional stability. That's to create the neurotransmitter chemicals in your brain and the physiology that gives you the possibility for a happy, healthy life. And then we also are going to examine what the research says about exercise and happiness. So let's get started. So from the Are You OK video that we did, and there's going to be a link to this in the bottom of below in the description. Okay, we're going to edit that. So from the Are You OK video that we did on depression, and there's going to be a link in the description below this video to have a look at that if you haven't seen that already. But we looked specifically at the statistics on suicide in Australia, and it was absolutely shocking and surprising. But deaths by suicide in Australia occur among males at 3 times the rate greater than for females, but that's been increasing for females as well. And for every death by suicide, it is estimated that as many as 30 people attempt to end their lives. And that's approximately 65,300 suicide attempts in Australia each year, which is shocking, and we're going to break it down a bit more. So the highest age-specific rate for men in 2015 was in the 85 plus age group, and we're going to look at why that is later in the video. But here's what shocked me. The next highest age-specific suicide rate in men was 45 to 49, then 40 to 44 age groups, and then 50 to 54 year age groups. These are men with young families, with dependent families. These are the years that we should be in the prime of our lives and absolutely grabbing onto life with both hands, but instead too many people are facing an absolute crisis here. Similarly, when we look at women, the age-specific rate was the 45 to 49 age group, and then followed up by the 50 to 54 age group, and then 35 to 39 years. So again, same as men, these are people in the prime of their lives, where instead of absolutely grabbing onto life with both hands, seeing their kids growing up, going into high school or going into university, and starting to free up the household to have more time with their significant other, to start to kick back and enjoy life more, the hard work's done. Instead of looking at it as a celebration point of view, it's a time of desperation and extreme stress. And that's absolutely shocking and scary. Now, of all causes of death, 1.9% was attributed to suicide in 2015, and the breakdown between the sexes, 2.8% of deaths in men were from suicide. In females, just under 1% at 0.9%. That's absolutely shocking. It was worked out that there's about 8 successful suicides a day on average. That's 1 every 3 hours. Absolutely terrifying statistics. So the important part, which we're focusing on here, is what can we do about it? Now, first of all, a notice and disclaimer again. All of the research, discussion and information is presented for information purposes only to increase knowledge and awareness related to risk factors associated with various lifestyle-related diseases and or illnesses. Use of this information provided is at the sole choice and risk of the reader and should not be adopted without first consulting your health professional. Again, should not be adopted without first consulting your health professional. That's what they're there for. Get proper advice, guys. So here at Health and Fitness Over 40, why are we doing this webinar today? Well, our mission is to positively influence the lives, the health and well-being of over 1 million people over 40 worldwide by providing quality information and strategies that you can add to your daily routine in less than 20 minutes a day. Why? Because as my nana used to say, forewarned is forearmed, but we've adapted that to say because applied knowledge is the best health insurance money can't buy. If you have the awareness and you know how to take action on it, you have the ability to head things off at the pass and take proactive measures to make a positive change instead of reactive measures, in other words, waiting until the crisis has occurred. So, why am I here talking to you today? Who am I, in other words, and why is it worth listening to me? Well, I've done 25 years of study, research and applying health knowledge to help thousands of people during over 20 years of clinical practice. I'm going to stress it again. I am not a psychology or mental health professional. My background is chiropractic care, but as people come through your doors, you are faced with all sorts of health challenges and issues. And part of my role is, as effectively a gatekeeper, is then to steer those people in the appropriate directions, whether it's to their GP, whether it's to crisis counselling or whatever else. But this is my new incarnation, and online is the best way to reach and empower more people to take control of your health, fitness, vitality, longevity and happiness. Why? Because your health and your time on this planet with friends and loved ones is truly priceless. We can't put a price tag on that. As far as I know, we only get one life, so let's absolutely make the most of it. So what's my story? Why am I talking about mental health issues then? It's not my area of professional expertise. Why do I have an interest in it? Well, a couple of reasons, and I'm going to touch on a few of them here. So 10 years ago, I was on a zip line. That's not me in the photo. That's just a stock image. There were no photos when I crash landed. But I fell from a zip line when the cable snapped. I broke my neck. To be brutally honest, it scared the absolute crap out of me. When I woke up, I knew something was up. And it was literally one of those things. I was probably out cold for 2, 3, 4 seconds, I don't know, but I don't think it was very long. But when I woke up, it was literally one of those oh crap moments. That really hurt. I don't know what's going on. I'm afraid to get up. I was flat on my back. And I can remember, like in the cartoons, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Does that still work? Okay, try moving your hands, try moving your feet. And I actually got up before anybody got to me. It was shock. It was probably a bit of embarrassment at the same time, but also a bit of my male pride. I wanted to make sure and see if my body was still working. So that was that. And over the coming several weeks and months, I was terrified, depressed. I had time off work. I was run down, emotionally stressed out. I was worried whether I was ever going to be able to work as a chiropractor again, whether I was going to be able to ride a bike, rock climb, windsurf, dive, whatever it was, because I didn't know the impact of this injury. So there were some real emotional challenges that I had to overcome, and I'm going to touch more on that in a little while. Also, and this is probably more of the significant reason why for this webinar, because 20 years ago, I lost someone that I loved to depression and suicide. I'm not going to go into the details of her demise out of respect to her, but just to say that this webinar is dedicated to Elise Jasmine. So I've been personally impacted by depression and suicide, as I'm sure many of you have, which is, you wouldn't be here if you weren't touched or deeply interested in this. So I always have a key principle and a key quote that I always reflect back on when I'm faced with challenge. And it's this one. In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity, by Albert Einstein. Someone way smarter than me. It's absolutely worth listening to what that guy has to say. So, Again, to clarify, I know we're going over this again and again and again, but I am not a psychologist, psychiatrist, counselor, or therapist. I do not have a qualification in this area. What I do have is a special interest in what the research says works and in studying how others have overcome their own life challenges and moved forward after significant physical and emotional setbacks. In other words, success leaves clues, so let's see what those successful clues are. So, let's find out more about the top 5 strategies shown to promote a positive mental attitude, happiness, and emotional well-being. So this is what the research says. Now, first of all, we're going to look at the chemical research because homocysteine is something that is super important. It's an amino acid, or actually it's a byproduct of breakdown of protein in the body, and it's raised in this instance in women during psychological stress. So any form of psychological stress is going to raise homocysteine levels, and again they then start to back off after the stressful event takes place. Why are we looking at homocysteine off the bat? Well, because when we go through this presentation, you're going to see that homocysteine is highly implicated as a correlation or a causative link tied in with depression. So the higher your homocysteine levels are, the more susceptible you are to having a depressive episode. That being said, so homocysteine, a super important chemical to be aware of. We're going to talk about that more. But now let's start looking at the prevention strategies. So counting blessings versus burdens. In other words, focusing on gratitude. So the research here talks about writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day, and we actually do a video on that. Again, our link is going to be in the description below this video. Click on that, check it out. It's powerful, it's important. Through this webinar, we're not going to sit and read all the research. That'll take us days, but the reason we're recording this is so that if you want to go through and read the research, you can just click pause, have a read through what's said, and again, in the descriptions below the research, there are all of the links that we're talking about and that we've got slides for here. So you can go through the research in your own time if you're a research geek like me, or you can take it at face value that yes, we've done the research, we've read through the studies, and we're going to hit the high points. Anyway, so count your blessings. Write down 3 things you're grateful for each day. Similarly, journaling was the next part. This research talks about revisiting a positive event in your life, write it down, explore the emotions again. What it does is it just reactivates those neurological pathways in your brain and fires off those neurotransmitter chemicals. And like anything, when you focus on positives in your life, it's like a habit, it's like exercising an emotional muscle. The easier it is to access that stuff when you use it regularly. And again, the how of happiness. So this is a scientific approach by a lady called Sonia Lyubomirsky. What she looks at, she wrote a book called The How of Happiness. And this is again based from the psychological research on how to access and promote happiness in your life. So we're going to give you the world's briefest summary on that. You can get the book. Again, there's going to be a link in the description below the video. You're going to get sick of me saying that. Just assume if it's in this, you can get a link to it below the video. That'll save me saying it again. So here's the hows of happiness. Counting your blessings. We've already looked at that. Cultivating optimism. In other words, writing down in a journal, writing down an episode that made you feel happy, empowered, strong, resourceful, whatever the emotion is, and just go into that. Re-access those feelings in your body. Re-access those neurological pathways. Avoiding overthinking and social comparison. One of the important things is distracting ourselves. Whether that's getting up, running around the room when we do something that's less resourceful and where we're being down on ourselves, anything to shake it up. Put on some music, crank it out. It's a very good pattern interrupt when you're out and about and you're a bit down on yourself after a breakup, after losing a contract at work, if you've lost a job, whatever else. But if you're dwelling in that pity party, there's no resourceful attitudes there. So if you've got a good mate, a friend, or even yourself, if you're able to trigger it in yourself, and you see yourself dropping into that, you jump down, give yourself 10 push-ups, or 10 bodyweight squats, or 10 burpees, or even 3 burpees. It's going to absolutely shake you out of your shit and interrupt that pattern and get you more resourceful. Now, I talked about earlier in this presentation about when I broke my own neck. Well, here's someone that I find hugely inspirational. This guy is called Sam Cawthorn. He's an Aussie. He's from Tasmania. And in October 2006, he was involved in a horrendous car accident that ultimately left him without a right arm, and at one time 2 metal plates, 3 metal rods and 21 screws in his right leg. He was not expected to survive his injuries. He was pronounced dead at the side of the road. He defied the odds, made it through. He was told in hospital he would never walk again. Guess what? Sam walks. He was also told he would never be able to have children. Guess what? Sam's a father to, I think it's 3 children now. Sam was told he would never play guitar again. Guess what? Sam defied the odds and plays guitar again. And even more than that, he's now a professional speaker. He's a best-selling author, and he became Tasmanian Young Australian of the Year in 2009. He then created the Speakers Institute to help share his message and also to help other people share their message. And he's also the creator of the Bounce charity movement. Now, this book here that we're talking about, Bounce Forward, is the sets of mindsets that he had and that he adopted to cause himself to bounce forward from a crisis, not bouncing back to where you were before, but regardless of the challenges, to bounce forward into a better life. And as a special bonus, special gift, the link is in the description below. We've done a book summary for Sam's book, and also we've got links where you can get the original. The original just tells you so much more and gives you so much more insight than my summary can. But again, most people won't sit down and read a full book these days, so read the summary first, get inspired, and I strongly recommend you to grab the book. Similarly, Learned Optimism. Again, there is a summary in the descriptions below, so grab onto that, read through it. It takes about 10 minutes to read, and it is totally powerful. It tells you that optimism is a learned process, it's a habit. So guess what? If you're facing any challenges, and even if you're not, cultivating that optimism just allows us to access resources in our brain that we can't when we're in a crisis situation. So here's the next thing we're going to talk about and focus on here. Affirmations. I've been asked a million times, do affirmations work? And the answer is yes and no. Depends how you use them. So we're going to give you the #1 life hack here on how to use affirmations. So here's a couple that might be useful. I am in charge of how I feel, and today I am choosing happiness. Happiness is a choice. It's a physiology, just as every emotion produces its own physiology and actions. Again, I am powerful, I am beautiful, I am strong, I am enough. Yeah, okay, you can say them till you're blue in the face, and they may or may not work. So how can we lock in and connect to these and access our higher resources? Well, look at these guys. And if you haven't seen Rocky, you're definitely not over 40. Then that guy in the middle, Usain Bolt, just won another race, probably about his millionth race that he's won. And again, if you grew up in the 70s, Wonder Woman, what a babe, what a positive, strong role model for women too. What are they doing? See how they're standing? These are called power poses. Amy Cuddy is a researcher, and she has shown that there are physiological changes in the body when you adopt these power poses. So arms up high, strong, winner's posture, hands on hip, power moves, power postures. You breathe deeply, you get in these positions, and then you say your affirmations with feeling. Lock it into your central nervous system. Try it, do it. Again, we have another video on this. I think we did this one in Thailand at about 5 in the morning outside a temple. It was a good laugh, a good bit of fun, and yeah, look, the link's in the description below. Again, click on it, go for it, use it in your life, and I tell you what, I can personally, with first-hand knowledge, tell you, yeah, that shit works. So they're the psychological things that we can do, but that's great. And it is powerful, but if we don't have the foundations underneath it of a strong, healthy diet, well, our body can't produce the neurotransmitter chemicals in our body to enable us to be healthy. So let's look at the key vitamins, minerals, and nutrients your body requires. These aren't optional. Your body requires it for emotional stability. Now, there is a ton of research here. There's a lot of underlined stuff. We're going to hit the high points, like I said. You can pause the video and check on it in your own time. So there's specific nutrients in food that affect the central nervous system. We're going to look at them specifically. This is a summary of them over the top. And again, this is the next part of it. So just off the top of that, iron deficiency, anemia, again, is very common with apathy and depression. Obvious stuff. We're going to look at chromium. We're going to look at zinc. we're going to look at folate, we're going to look at vitamin B. So let's get into it. Now, this research here that has a big red asterisk on the side of the page, this is where researchers are awesome, especially when they do a thing called a literature review, because they go through all the research and they pull out the high points, and then I get to go through and summarize it and access some of the other research to lock it in for us. So if we look at this, we're going to go into this one in a little bit more detail. So few people are aware of the connection between nutrition and depression. So we know about nutrition and illness in general. We don't tend to look so closely at nutrition and mental illness. Okay, so the most common mental disorders that are currently prevalent in numerous countries are depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and obsessive compulsive disorder. So we're going to look at what's implicated here. We have omega-3 acids, we have folate, we have B group vitamins, we have zinc, we have iron, blah, 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 on and on we go. So let's go through it in more detail. So carbohydrates, we need carbohydrates so that we can release insulin in the body, which lets blood sugars into the cells when it can be used for energy and simultaneously triggers the entry of tryptophan into the brain. Tryptophan produces serotonin. Serotonin is one of the happy chemicals in the brain. But if you eat high sugar processed foods, you're going to get a sugar rush, then you're going to get a sugar crash. Okay, that's why you feel like crap about 20 minutes after you have that Snickers bar, Mars bar, Twinkies bar, depending on where you're from. Anything with high refined sugar, you get a spike and then you get a crash. That's a high glycemic index food. So you're better off having a low glycemic index food such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, pasta. It's a slow release of those sugars. It's sustained insulin release, plus you get a bunch of fiber when you eat healthy foods as well that stops the sugar spike, and your body is designed to absorb the sugar slowly so you get a more controlled elevation in your mood. Easy as, we're going to talk about specific foods to help you do this down the track, but basic blanket answer here: if it grows on a tree, grows in the ground, it's good for you. If it comes out of a packet and is processed up to the wazoo, it's not good for you. Proteins. We need specific essential amino acids that our body converts into other amino acids and proteins. One of the key ones in our brain is dopamine. Okay, so we need the amino acid tyrosine in order to produce it. Just as we said back there with tryptophan and then serotonin in the brain, we need tyrosine for dopamine in the brain. Obvious, simple. Okay. So, low protein diets. Now, you can have too much protein. This is a crazy thing with bodybuilders. They think some protein is good and more is better. Not true. And again, in the description below, there's links for Dude, Where's My Protein? It goes through the research on how much protein you need in a day. Guess what, gang? It's less than you think. So, this is a study on elderly people. They found that when we give them slightly lower protein, so above the required daily intake, but at the low end of that, their moods were elevated. So again, we get back here, omega-3 fatty acids, essential fatty acids. So alpha-linoleic acid is in flax seeds. Okay, the other essential fatty acids can be broken down and created from ALA that's in flax seeds. We're going to look at this in more detail here. So when we look at, here's one of the risks when you lower your plasma cholesterol levels, and this is one of the reasons why your cholesterol lowering medication increases your risk of suicide and depression by a factor. It's something like 3 or 4. Don't quote me on that yet. I've read the research, I don't have it at hand. So that's one of the risks with rapidly lowering cholesterol. But guess what? It's easily fixed by getting more omega-3 fatty acids into your diet. We're going to talk about where and how to get them shortly. So high cholesterol, you've got massive risks of heart disease, high blood pressure and stroke. You lower that down, they say, hey, your risk of depression and mental illness goes up. You can offset that with a balanced diet and omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids in prevention of mood and anxiety disorders. And again, so the omega-3 supplements, they are now saying that nutrition in psychiatry is a modifiable environmental factor. In fact, when we look at supplementation with omega-3 fatty acids, We found that it modulates the mechanism of brain cell signaling, including the dopaminergic and serotonergic pathways. In other words, dopamine, serotonin in the brain, omega-3 fatty acids help with that. So if you've got low omega-3 fatty acids in your body, it's characterized by a high level of impulsivity and aggression and borderline personality disorders. Guys, a lot of these mental health and psychological and emotional issues definitely have a basis in your nutrition and diet. And then when we look at this, omega-3 fatty acids and major depression, even if you're taking depression medication, omega-3 fatty acids help in the uptake and the utilization by your body of those medications. Super important. So where do we get omega-3 fatty acids in our diets? Now I'm going to look at plant sources here, because if you've looked at any of our other videos, you will find out that animal sources of nutrition raise your risk for heart attack, raise your risk for stroke, raise your risk for diabetes. Look, let's just throw a blanket over it and say, if you're eating animal products, or if you're eating a lot of animal products in your diet, you are raising your risks of all the lifestyle killers that affect us people over 40. So if you want to lower that down, you need to massively increase your intake of plant-based nutrition and lower your intake of animal-based nutrition. The research doesn't lie. I'm going to have a link again below us here on the pollutants and cancer-causing chemicals in our food chain just by eating animal-based products. So watch the videos, get informed. When you look at the research as extensively as I have, you'll see that, guess what, a plant-based diet, that's the answer to a long life and happiness. This research supports it. So how do we get omega-3 fatty acids in our diet? Walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds. Guess what? I've got recipes on smoothies for that again in other videos. So you can get these nutrients into you with a yummy drink first thing in the morning. Set up your day. You're laughing. Okay? Takes about 4 minutes to make. Easy as. So let's go back to the research now. Vitamins. Vitamins indicated and implicated and related to depression and depressive illnesses. B-complex vitamins. So supplementation of 9 vitamins, 10 times in excess of normal recommended daily allowance for 1 year, improved mood in both men and women. It was particularly associated with vitamin B2 and B6, and also B1 status in women. And vitamin B12, again a super important one. Adolescents who have a borderline level of vitamin B12 deficiency develop signs of cognitive changes. So if you've got an angry, depressed, unmotivated teenager at home, tidy up their diet. We're going to talk about B12 specifically here, and the prevalence of vitamin B12 deficiency in the Australian population. So one of the biggest, I'll call the criticism of vegetarianism and veganism is that you end up with low vitamin B12 levels and increase your risk of depression. So here's a study from Australia showing that about 3.6% of the population were clinically deficient in vitamin B12, and subclinical low normal vitamin B12 levels were found in 26% of the population. That's over a quarter of people. I can tell you right now that there is no way in Australia that 26% of the population are vegans and vegetarians. You'd be lucky if it was closer to 3 to 5%, 10% in some of the bigger cities if you're lucky. In other words, vitamin B12 deficiency does not just affect vegetarians and vegans, it affects everybody. I've got other studies, and there were too many to put into this presentation, but basically it says everyone should be supplementing with vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is not produced in plants, and it is not produced in animals. It is produced in the soil by bacteria. So when your fruit and veggies are covered in dirt, yes, you have more vitamin B12. We need to supplement with it. Because of our food processing and everything these days, we don't get enough vitamin B12. Like I said, it's not in the food itself, so supplement with it. It's created from a bacteria. But when we start looking at the research here, what does B12 do? It helps lower homocysteine levels in the body. So again, when we went back to the very first research slide in this webinar, we talked about homocysteine levels and stress in women. Homocysteine is naturally lowered by vitamin B12 in the body. So it's a no-brainer, guys. It's obvious. Again, diet helps lower stress, makes the body more resilient to stress and stressor situations, in other words, stressful situations in the body. So, low B12 intakes can cause anemia and nervous system damage. So where do we get it from? Well, there are foods fortified with B12. Yes, the government now knows that, hey, this is important, so it's fortified in certain foods. In other words, it's added into the foods. So it's added into plant milk, some soy products, some breakfast cereals. There's vitamin B12 supplements. I actually have a spray that I just spray under my tongue each day. Numerous ways to get it. B group multivitamins as a supplement. Just get it in you. Okay, it's super important whether you are male, female, vegetarian, meat eater, whatever you want to do, you need to supplement with it. Let's move on. So, nutrition again, folate, super powerful stuff. This is vitamin B9 is folate. If you're folic acid, we also call it. This is the stuff that if you take it during, or you need to supplement with it during pregnancy to prevent neural tube defects in your baby. In other words, spina bifida and so on and so forth. But guess what? Patients with depression have low blood folate levels. In fact, they're on average 25% lower than healthy controls. In other words, people who are healthy. Low levels of folate have been identified as a strong predisposing factor to poor outcome with antidepressant therapy. So again, B12 and folate if you want to increase the uptake of your antidepressant medication if you're on medication. So again, it's not just the drug. We have to look at the lifestyle aspects. Let's continue on. Folate again lowers homocysteine levels. So vitamin B12, folate reduce homocysteine levels in the body. Again, you can pause this and read the information for yourself. Nutrition and depression, the role of folate. So depressive symptoms are the most common neuropsychiatric manifestation of folate deficiency. If you're deficient in this vitamin in your body, guess what? It shows up as depression. So instead of reaching for the Prozac, maybe we should reach for the fruit and veggies. So this is how important folate is in the body. We're going to look at the foods that have folate in them, vitamin B9. We have spinach, we have edamame, that's a Japanese bean, I guess we'll call it. Bloody great if you go to your local Japanese restaurant, you can get them and munch on them. Brilliant stuff. Lentils, raw beetroot, so you can grate beetroot on your salads, you can cut it up and stick it in a smoothie. It tastes a bit bitter, but it's bloody good for you for many reasons. And again, we have a smoothie talking about that specifically because it releases nitric oxide in the body, which relaxes blood vessels, makes them more elastic, and promotes blood flow. So if you're a candidate with high risk for heart disease, great smoothie, great stuff to get into your diet regularly. Again, we'll put the link down below. Pinto beans, chana, which looks like chickpeas, breakfast cereals, look, so loaded down with sugars as well. I don't know if that's the best way of getting it into your body, but it's our way of getting it into your body. But maybe look at the other plant sources first. Black beans, red beans, toasted sunflower seeds. My Russian friends, siemichki. You guys absolutely love it. Toast them, eat them, they taste yummy, or toast them, throw them on a salad. Cooked bodhi. That's seaweed. Again, you can get it at your Japanese restaurants. You can also buy it in some supermarkets. Black-eyed peas. Don't just listen to their music. Eat the food as well. Okay. Cooked broccoli, split peas, avocado, toasted wheat germ, pawpaw, green peas, dasheen leaves. You guys can read as well as I can. You can look at the graphic. Let's have a look here. So, again, folate helps the antidepressant medication of fluoxetine. So even if the medication has been prescribed for your depression, you also need to get proper nutrition in your body to promote the effects of that medication. Enough said there. How important is folate? It's that important that we're going to look at the foods again that give you folate in the diet. Leafy greens, asparagus, broccoli, pawpaw and oranges, avocados, seeds and nuts, Brussels sprouts, beans, peas, lentils, okra, cauliflower, beets, bell peppers. Bell peppers are also called capsicums if you're an Aussie. What does it tell us? You don't need to be eating animal products to get this stuff into your body. It's everywhere if you eat a plant-based diet. You're going to see overlap in these foods with different nutrients because they're that powerful and that important. Let's move on. So the effect of different cooking methods. Now this is super important. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is like, yeah, we need to eat more green, but do we need to boil our food? Do we need to steam our food? What do we need to do with our food in order to get the nutrition out of it? So this research looks at the different methods of cooking. This is a UK study. When we look at potatoes, you boil them, doesn't matter. Any other green veggies, you might as well steam them. Is probably the easiest way to do it. Veggie steam is as cheap as chips. Super easy way to cook them. I've been asked the questions on whether microwaves destroy nutrition in food. I've had a look through the research and I can't find anything specific that says it does or it doesn't. There's a lot of conflicting information and I couldn't establish whether it was down to specific bias or whatever else. So for me, I don't own a microwave oven. I find steaming is so easy, especially if you've got gas cooking. It's just so dead easy to do. But you make the choices on that. Most importantly, just get that green stuff in your diet. Let's move on. Minerals. Chromium as a mineral, again, linked to human depression. So, it's a significant micronutrient. Again, where do we get it in our diet? Chromium-rich foods. Lettuce, oats, broccoli, black pepper. So, put your pepper on your food. Tomatoes and barley. Pretty simple, right? Let's fly through this. Iron. Iron is associated, again, it is linked to depression. And ADD in little kids. So if you've got a hyperactive little kid going on, yes, it may have been linked to different interventions, whether it's vaccination or whatever else, who knows. Again, the research is conflicting. I know what my personal thoughts are, but look, too late once it's happened. If your kid's dealing with ADD, let's get more iron in their diet. How do we do it? Now, we're going to go on a little aside here. There is heme iron and non-heme iron. Non-heme iron comes from plants. Healthier for your body. Higher concentrations of heme iron in the body, higher levels of heme iron in the body from animal products increases your risk of heart disease and other illnesses. So, where do we get iron from non-plant sources? If you're a 70s kid, you saw Popeye as a kid. Now, whenever Popeye reached for the stuff to make him strong, what did he reach for? He reached for his spinach. He did not reach for a cow and bite a chunk out of the side of the cow's ear or out of its belly. He did not pick up a sheep. He did not pick up a chicken. He did not pick up a turkey. He picked up spinach and then he gave Bluto an ass whooping that he never forgot. So let's look at it. Soybeans again. Spirulina, whack it in your smoothies, amazing stuff. You can get it at the health food store. Pumpkin seeds, throw them on your salads. Quinoa or quinoa. Quinoa, if you want to be politically correct and a hipster. Get that in you. Blackstrap molasses. My gosh, that'll put hairs on your chest. You too, ladies. Tomato paste. So, hey, this is one good thing about pizzas. And we've got recipes again for veggie pizzas with tomato paste without cheese on it. You know what? You can have awesome pizzas. Even if you go vegan, you do not need to give up pizza. So that made my father's life happy because he thought he was going to have to give up pizza. So butter beans, cooked spinach, again, Popeye spinach, kick Bruto's ass. You stay strong, you stay healthy. Spinach, I'll say it again, spinach. Dried peaches, apricots, tofu, prune juice, lentils. And there's some when we talk about lentils, people automatically think farting. I'm not here to be politically correct. I'm going to call it how it is. Beans, farts. Lentils, farts. There is a spice called hing. It also has a botanical name that is harder to pronounce. I'm not going to do it here. I think it's something like Asterophitida. But hing, you go into your health food store, it's a pungent spice. It's like turmeric and all your other spices. Just put a pinch of that in your food. It has been shown to drastically reduce flatulence. And it has a bunch of other health benefits. So there's a tip for you. If you've got farty friends at home and stinky housemates, throw some hing in the food. Let's move on. So you guys get just absolute gems of wisdom here when you listen to these videos. And so again, let's look at some population studies. So frequent consumption of vegetables predicts lower risk of depression in older Taiwanese. You don't have to be an older Taiwanese to benefit from fruits and vegetables. In fact, the research suggests we should be getting 7 to 8 servings of fruit and veggies a day. In the USA, apparently the average is between 1 to 2. So again, it's not just Taiwanese people. Let's move on. So, selenium, another key nutrient, and zinc. So you can read the research if you like, but here we go. Selenium, mushrooms, garlic. So you throw some garlic on your pizza, throw it in your pasta, whatever. Broccoli, asparagus, spinach, and oats. Oats, one of my key staples first thing in the morning in a smoothie. But again, go to our smoothie recipes. There's links below. Check them out. They're awesome. Zinc foods. Yes, you can still eat bread if you want to, if it doesn't fatten you up too much, as in doesn't bloat you or whatever else. Bread is great. Whole wheat, not that white crap that masquerades as bread. It's not bread, it's bad for you. Too much research says it's crap, so whole wheat bread if you're going to eat bread at all. But hey, again, sunflower seeds. My Russian friends, you love them, you know all about it. Almonds. Almonds, quick tip, soak them for 8 to 10 hours to get the maximum nutrition out of them. Soaking them in water for 8 to 10 hours gets rid of the inhibitory enzyme, so it allows your body to absorb all the nutrition out of the almond. Again, pumpkin seeds, lentils, farty foods. Yay, get some hing in, don't worry about the farts. Tofu, hummus, oatmeal, tofurkey, so in other words, mock meats. These are textured vegetable protein. Okay, that they turn into fake meats. If you're a veggie or vegan or transitioning, it's a great way to still have the taste and texture of what you used to eat without feeling like you're missing out. Great stuff, tastes better than the real thing, much better for you, much better for the environment. And cashew nuts. I have a cashew nut addiction, so I'm super happy to see that there is zinc in them. Great news. Let's move on. Curcumin Tumeric, that lovely yellow spice, okay, again, reduces the risk of anxiety and depression. Massively important stuff. That's what it looks like in a powdered form. Massively important stuff for also reducing inflammation in your body. So if you've got autoimmune disorders, get more of that in your diet. It'll help some of the inflammation and inflammatory conditions. So autoimmune stuff, arthritis, all that sort of stuff, that is a very, very good way of lowering inflammation in your body. And we're going to have other videos where we talk specifically about how to lower inflammation in your body, but that's a story for another day. So they're the things we want more of in our diet. Again, at the very top of this video, we talked about homocysteine levels and how high homocysteine, it raises your risk for heart disease. That's one thing. And there's, again, going to be a bunch of other videos on that, but we're talking about depression and mood disorders today. Lower homocysteine levels by drastically reducing these foods in your diet. So what do we got there? We've got a big ham, we've got processed sausages. In other words, the bits of the animal that no one else eats, we grind it down, turn it into something absolutely bad for you, and then sell it at a premium. Steak, bottom right hand corner, looks like salmon but fishes. Then next to that we've got prawns, a filter food. These are the animals that filter all the shit out of the water and then we eat them. Got to be good for us. It's like I don't know, taking the oil filter out of your car and all the crap that's been filtered out, pouring it back into your engine. Bad for your car, hey. And eggs, you know, the ovulation products of chickens. Let's call it what it is. You wouldn't eat your own, so why are you eating chickens? But anyway, again, are eggs really good for you? The video's down below. You can, or is chicken really good for you as the video, but we talk about chicken meat and eggs and how unsanitary it is and how full of disease it is. Watch the video, disgust yourself if you don't want to eat chickens. If you want to keep eating chickens and poisoning yourself, don't watch the video, keep eating eggs, keep eating chicken, your choice. But quick aside again, you want to cut down on your risk for prostate cancer, and if you have prostate cancer, if you want to start stopping it dead, cut out chicken and eggs out of your diet. Again, the video's in the link down below. This is an across-the-board encyclopedia lesson for us today. There's so much information, it all overlaps. The research, from whatever angle you look at it, says cut back on animal products dramatically increase your plant-based foods. That's enough on that. That's the diet stuff. Now let's take the next step. This is the third part of the webinar where we talk about what the research says about exercise and happiness. Now, we remember teenage boys walking around with overly girl-crazy focus, let's call it that. We won't call it a hard-on out of their pants. Go and take a cold shower, you know, calm yourself down, tiger, all that sort of thing. Well, guess what? What extreme cold does and cold showers, it impacts the sympathetic nervous system, which stimulates the function of your body, and it strengthens your immune system. So for guys, it also promotes testosterone production. So you don't have to go and stand under a cold shower for several minutes, although the research tends to say start with about 2 minutes. Really, at the end of your shower, have a nice shower and then crank the cold water on. Do it in winter as well. It's the most invigorating thing you can do. unbelievable. It's a nice little shock to your system, but what it does is just absolutely stimulates high metabolism in your body, stimulates the immune system, and just burns off any rubbish in your system. Massive, massive detox. Brilliant stuff. Easy as. Let's move on. So, exercise. What does the research say about exercise and depression? Resistance exercise lowers homocysteine levels in mice. So what? You're not a mouse. Well, guess what? What they found was by increasing resistance exercise, so that is weights, that is body weight exercises, push-ups, squats, pull-ups, all that sort of stuff. So anything that creates effort, in other words, something over and above walking, you're going to lower the homocysteine levels, at least if you're a mouse. So let's see what it says about humans. So they found that, you know what, if you do a significant amount of exercise regularly, you're going to feel better. And there's so many reasons for that, physiologically, stimulating circulation in the body, lymphatic system, you name it, blah, 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 blah. But you can read the research. But does it last? Well, guess what? What they found was that 10 months of regular exercise creates consistent changes that were actually better than sertraline therapy, sertraline being an antidepressant medication. So exercise. So we're starting to find out here. Exercise, diet, mindset, these things can have a dramatic effect on your health and well-being. Who'd have thought it? But anyway, so here's my massive tip. What's the best single full body exercise? I'm going to tell you right now, it's burpees. In the description for the video below, you are going to see that there's a link to a video of us doing burpees at the Winter Olympic site in Sochi, Russia. So cool, just a little bit of an aside of us jumping around the world on our travels, but do the burpees. If you can't do burpees, do body weight squats, do push-ups, but get your body moving. And again, if you want a rapid aerobic exercise and full body exercise, grab a skipping rope. Okay, so easy, so cheap, and very good for you. So we're pretty much at the end here, so let's do a quick recap because I've thrown a lot of information at you. We're just going to hit the very high points right now. Here's the summary. Let's fly through it. The mental aspects. Write down 3 things you are grateful for each day. Again, videos down below. Write and describe a positive event, listing how you felt. You know, reconnect with that emotion. Super important. And one that I found from a mate of mine, he said, you know what, Stuart, write down all of the compliments you have ever received. And if you can't remember them, make them up. No one cares. Your central nervous system doesn't care whether it's real or whether you tell it to yourself. In fact, it's probably more important if you do tell it to yourself. But when you're hitting a bit of a low day, read them. Read them, read them, read them. Reconnect with your power. And the third one, random acts of kindness. How powerful is this? You go and help other people. The hit for your body is absolutely amazing. That's a massive one. And we need more kindness in the world. Affirmations. Remember your power postures. I love myself. I'm awesome. I'm amazing. And get those power postures. Say it with feeling. Say it with love. Nurture yourself. Be good to yourself. Let's go through the foods again super quickly. Okay, so walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds. You can read through all of these. If it's green, eat it. You can steam it, eat it. If it's nuts and seeds, eat it. Okay, it's pretty obvious. Beets, peppers. Okay. So again, more folate foods and B12 foods. It's green, eat it. You can read through the list. Again, chromium. There we are. Again, iron, spinach, Popeye. He was eating spinach, not a cow. How many times do we need to say it? Spinach, green stuff, broccoli, cruciferous vegetables. Get them into you. Mushrooms, garlic, la 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 la. If it's green, eat it. Again, plant-based foods, lentils. Hing will not make you fart. Go to your health food store, get some hing powder. Okay? Turmeric, again, lowers inflammation in the body. Health benefits, again, let's start looking at exercise and what the exercise says. Cold showers, we just talked about it, it's obvious. Burpees, skipping ropes, and guess what? Here's an absolute extra little bonus. How good are we on over-delivering here today? But you can do short interval training workouts. This stuff is super good for your physical health, your aerobic health, your anaerobic health. The reason I've crossed out the lower areas is because you don't need to go on and on and on for hours. Just a short burst will help you. In fact, just dropping and doing 10 push-ups will help with your mood. You want to help with your fitness longer term though? Squats, push-ups, planks, burpees, high knees, lunges. It doesn't matter where you're starting as long as you start. It doesn't matter what your current fitness levels are, just do something. And we have a whole program, which again, we're going to have a link to a full webinar shortly about how to modify your exercises if you're unfit or just starting out. So that's the webinar, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for helping us share this amazing information with you. This is literally life-changing stuff, but most importantly, don't wait for a crisis. Use it today, and if you are in a crisis, seek professional help. Now, to get more information like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, there's a link in the description below, or just click subscribe below the video here. That'll keep you up to date with our videos. This is one of our longer ones. This is just under an hour. A lot of our videos go for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. It gives you nice little bite-sized pieces of information. And then if you're like me, where you like to just absolutely dive in with full intensity and get all the information in one hit, that's what videos like today's are for. So also, while you're there, please like us on Facebook, give us a thumbs up on our page, and while you're either in our YouTube channel or on our Facebook, if there is a post that you like, please give us a thumbs up. Please give us some feedback, share it with your friends, just use it. Again, our aim is to help over 1 million people worldwide improve the quality of their health and well-being. So please help us out with that. We're greatly appreciative of your efforts in supporting us, and I'm sure your friends will be when they get better outcomes in their lives. So that's the webinar. I just want to finish with thank you once again. Congratulations for investing in yourself, and I look forward to joining you on your journey to better health, fitness, energy, vitality, longevity, and happiness. Look after yourself, be good to yourself, and look after the people you love and care about. We'll talk to you again soon.